Sit back, relax, and join William and Lee on their journey through the strange and mysterious world.
And welcome to season 2, episode 20 of Strange and Mysterious World. And it's our 50th podcast, Will, since season 1.
Nice.
Hey? And over our 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 views, so that's fantastic. It's really, really going well. Tonight's episode, we're going to have a couple of topics. We'll see if we get through to them all. If not, we'll run through over to next week. But first up, we're going to be chatting about Lue Elizondo's new book, Imminent. Will had the pleasure of, I think it was an audiobook you actually listened to, hey, Will, on that?
Yeah, I would listen to the audiobook, yeah.
Yeah, and then we're going to chat a little bit about the stone tape theory after that. So yeah, let's see how we go. All right, so tell us about Lue's book. What's the news? What's new in the world?
Okay, well, I mean, his new book came out about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 months or whatever. I pre-ordered it, so it was exciting when it was coming out, and then when I got it, I actually was like putting it off because, like, I mean, you know how it is. It's like I just thought it was just like the same old stuff. I mean, we've been watching this thing play out for like since 2017.
Yeah.
And it's like I felt like, oh God, I know the whole story, and it's just the same old boring UFO stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, that UFO stuff is exciting, but once you've heard it all, because there's a point where you've heard everything and it like doesn't go any further. Because but I mean, it has been exciting over the last few years because of Lue Elizondo, obviously, like his push for disclosure and all of these things happening with the Congress in America taking this thing seriously, and that legislation that Biden signed for pilots and people to come forward and disclose what they know without being persecuted, even if they have got what you call it, they've been read into things with special clearances that they're not allowed to divulge, but they can come forward to Congress and say what they know without being affected by the law or whatever. So
the protected whistleblowers law, or what's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those things have been exciting, but then I've just been putting the book off because I thought, I know it all, and I know Lue Elizondo's whole story and that, and also then he was on the Joe Rogan show, and it was so boring because like Joe Rogan didn't ask him. Joe Rogan obviously didn't read the book because there were some things that were really cool in the book that I didn't even know about Lue Elizondo because I thought I knew everything. But in his book, he spoke about that he was part of this. When he started in the army, he actually, I mean, he was doing like a lot of like intel operations in Iraq and Afghanistan and all of this stuff. But then he actually was recruited to be a remote viewer. Did you know that?
When I heard a little bit on your, when you were chatting about it, and I can't remember actually now where I heard it, but yeah, I did hear that he had become, he did it. I don't know how long he was in the remote viewing thing, but I did hear a little bit about it.
It was like almost like he was getting prepped for the Stargate program, because the Stargate was the famous, obviously the remote viewing program in the CIA that got eventually shut down, and then it was declassified. But so it was almost like he was getting prepped for that, and he was learning, and he was actually pretty good at it. And then the Stargate program got shut down, so he never got into it. But and then also what another interesting thing was that when he started but he didn't have any interest in UFOs, but like he was when he was in the CIA, this one guy called him into the office and he said, he wanted to read him into this new project it was actually about UFOs, but Lue Elizondo didn't know what it was about. And the guy said to him, geez, I wish I was a bit more prepared, I had the fucking names. But the guy said, what do you think of UFOs? And Lue Elizondo is like, I never think of UFOs. He's like, I don't. And he's like, well, they're real. And he started reading into this project and wanted to know if he wanted to be a part of it. So he went along with it, not really thinking much of it. But then he was in in South America with the South American government and the CIA and because he was working with Bigelow at the time, you know, with ATIP and the president of South America was talking about the choo-choos. Was it the choop-choops? It was those UFOs that were like sucking blood from people and like shooting them with lasers and like and um and like all these people were getting really sick and like quite a few people died and everything. And so he went there to investigate. And when he saw how serious it was with the government there and everything, and the evidence that he saw there, and that then he started being like, oh my gosh, this is actually a real thing. And he started taking it really seriously. Another thing, yeah, so now he's in the program and he's at ATIP and he's, you know, running that show, and then he starts seeing orbs. Like orbs start following him around. They're at his house. He starts seeing orbs all the time at his house. His neighbors see the orbs. His wife see the orbs. His neighbors even start joking like, geez, what's what's happening? Is it like, what project are you working on at because they know he's obviously in the CIA. They're like, what are you guys working on? Because we keep seeing these balls of lights in our garden. And his wife also started saying like, geez, is there something you're not telling me? Like, what is, because obviously he doesn't even tell his wife what he's doing because it's all top secret. So his wife sees these orbs and asks him like, you know, are you bringing your work home? Like, what is these funny balls of light we keep seeing? So I thought that's really fascinating. I mean, Joe Rogan doesn't even ask him on the Joe Rogan show like about these, you know, fascinating things that I don't even know about Lue Elizondo, because it was, you know, because it's always been very I mean, the stuff I've never heard him speak about that. But it's like the hitchhiker effect, you know, with like at Skinwalker Ranch and Kim, what's his name? Kim Kelleher's book on the Skinwalker Ranch, the what do they call it? Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, that book.
Yeah.
When he wrote about that, and they spoke about the hitchhiker effect, that they would be researching the stuff at Skinwalker Ranch, and then they would go home, and then all of the strange phenomenon like poltergeist like experiences started happening, and you know, balls of light they seen in their house and stuff. So that's what happened to Lue Elizondo. And then also the Collins elite. Like he discusses a lot about Collins elite. Like that's the people in the Pentagon that are very religious, and they shut down all of these projects, like the remote viewing project. They also wanted to shut down the they wanted to shut down the UFO things because they think it's all demons. And I also always thought the Collins elite was like a, you know, like a myth or like a legend, you know. I never knew it was actually a real thing. So I always thought that Collins elite was like a legend because you know, I'd hear about this stuff, but I always thought, geez, I mean, like really would people in the Pentagon be so dogmatic that they would put, you know, their country, if there's funny things going around your military bases and stuff, and you're so religious that you're like it's demons, and then not to actually pay attention to it, it just sounds ridiculous to me. You know what I mean? So I always thought it was a myth, but he actually confirms it in his book that that's a real thing, and that's what happened to me. He had meetings with top ranking officials in the CIA that said like, Lou, like, let's just put this project to bed because have you, he discusses the whole meeting with the one guy. He says like, he called him in, he said, Lou, and he had like really a lot of respect for this guy. And the guy called him into the office and said, Lou, have you read your Bible lately? And Lou says, no, why? And he's like, because, you know, what you're dealing with is demons, and we should stop this, and we need to just, you know, and it was a big threat, and they wanted to close the project down because they said that Lou's dealing with demons. So that was like that's a real thing. That's just in the Pentagon. And then he also spoke about the legacy program, talking about like there was actually crashed retrieval crafts with bodies in it, and they actually have these specimens, and these craft are actually in possession of some of the big he doesn't mention which Air Force or aerospace company actually has them, but they actually he says it in the book that it actually exists. And
Well, look,
And
talking a little bit about that, I know there was some sort of, I don't know if this was a theory or, but they've said that from the downed aircraft that they've found, or the downed spaceships, or whatever you want to call it, they disassembled it, but they sent bits and pieces to different places so that they wouldn't know what each other's working on. So these guys would send perhaps an engine to perhaps maybe Elon Musk's SpaceX or something. Then these guys would send maybe the console to Boeing. And then these guys would send wings or something to another company to see if they could try and reverse engineer each of those specific things, which I think at the time they couldn't really do it, but I think now they're able to do it.
Well, he says that they've been sitting on it for like 60 years and they actually don't know what to do with it because they don't know how to work and whatever. And he also said that that's actually one of the things holding them back because of it's so compartmentalized that no one, like they can't actually see the whole picture and like they can't have everyone's great brains working on it. There's all these piece compartments, so like it actually goes nowhere. So he does mention that a bit in the book. And what also really struck me is that because there's all of this stuff about that he's a counterintelligence agent, he's it's
misinformation.
Like misinformation, but it's a psyop, everyone's like a lot of the like half of the UFO community is like, no, he's part of the psyop and whatever. And also like listening to all of Stephen Greer's like podcasts since that book came out, he's just totally slating it like it's a psyop. He's doing you misinformation and everything. And it's funny because every single little bit of information that came out over the last, since he left the Pentagon, well, since the 2017 article in the New York Times, and just following that whole thing, like always, Lue Elizondo would release a bombshell, and then you'd be like, oh my gosh, like this is so amazing, and then everyone's like, no, it's a psyop, it's misinformation. And then then I would start believing, like thinking, okay, is it a psyop? Is it misinformation? But when he lays it down, all of the incidents in the whole book, I mean, it's great for somebody that doesn't know about UFOs to read this book. It's just so amazing because it goes through every single stage from the 2017 article in the New York Times to all of the things that happened over the last years until Congress, till basically disclosures actually happen, but it gives you a bird's eye view, like what gave me a bird's eye view of like looking at it, because like every single time a piece of information came up, then there was all of these people saying, no, it's just a psyop. So then what do you call it? Like I like misinterpreted, or like I feel suspicious about it, and is it a psyop or whatever? But when you see it all mapped out and you look at it a bird's eye view, like the whole story, you actually realize like he's actually done a fantastic job. And also because also I remember when he started saying all this stuff, and then the Pentagon actually said that he wasn't working there. He did not work in the Pentagon. Remember, there was a big backlash, and then they tried to discredit him. And then there was a thing like, oh no, he never even worked in the Pentagon. And then Senator Harry Reid actually had to write a letter to show people that he actually was part of the program, and they discredited him so much. And I'm thinking like, and then hear all the stuff that he went through. I mean, he left his job, he went bankrupt, he obviously, or almost bankrupt. He started working with TTSA, To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge, and then that's went for a ball of shit, and he was eventually living in his like mobile home with his wife because he didn't have any money, and he left his the job at the Pentagon, and also like if it was a psyop, if the Pentagon went through such a limit to discredit him, like why would they like want to? If there was a plan, it was a psyop, like to discredit him and actually almost make like the plan not work, like they go to such an extent that they actually almost jeopardize their whole plan for it to not to be like, if it's a psyop, and then they're going to jeopardize this thing by like their great plan by making, because I also thought, okay, well, maybe that's part of the plan. You discredit him because people are going to be like, why was he never discredited? And then it's like, and that also makes it mysterious. Like if everything just went smoothly, you know what I mean? But they almost destroyed his reputation, and if it was a psyop, they would have almost destroyed their whole plan. So why would they have like jeopardize their whole plan on the line if it was their plan. So I'm after reading the book, I'm actually on Lue Elizondo's like side, and I'm like thinking, geez, well, actually, he did actually a fantastic job of what he's actually accomplished.
Well, look, it's good that it got the information out. I think it's important to get these things out, and you've got people that are backing you that saying, listen, everything that is there is real. This is really happening. You know, whether it be demonic or alien entities, whatever it is, you can deal with that at another stage. But I think the important thing is to acknowledge and say, okay, yes, this stuff is here. This is what's happening. Whether it's demonic, whether it's entities from another world, we don't know. This is now what we have to research. So my only issue with all of this stuff, and it's been since day one, as much as I believe the stuff is there, I believe that there's entities from other worlds that have been coming to our planet for eons. The proof yet is still, it's not there. As much as the guys are coming through and saying, yes, no, this is what we're seeing and this is what we're hearing. For Lue's book, as much as there's a lot of information, it's still hearsay. There's nothing concrete to come through and say, we have got this. Here's the video. Here's the footage. And I'm not talking about the tic-tac video and the go fast. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, here's a downcraft. Here is the engine that we've got. This is what we're currently working on. We don't know how it works. This is where we are. People, if you got minds, come join us. Try and figure this thing out. So people, the public can get involved. But the thing is, nothing's happening. It's like dead end. It's always the same. And it's been going on like this, even when I was with MUFON for those many years. It's the constant, I see this, I see that. I've heard about this. This guy said this is what he saw. This guy said this is what we have. But none of the guys have actually come through and said, all right, Area 51 this is what's happened. I was there. This is what we have. This is what we're working on. It's now moved from Area 51 to, I don't know, Area 52 or to somewhere else. This is where our bases are. And yes, we're going to be opening this to the public or the news reporters, whatever, specific select few, we'll bring them in, and then they can come through, they can see what we have, and then they can ask us questions. We can go from there. I think when that happens, then will there be a major shift in what the people of the world believe today. But currently, there's two sides of the fence. It's bullshit. It's real. It's demonic. It's alien entities. No one knows. We're still in that limbo. That's my only issue.
Yeah, but I hear you, and that's why it gets a bit boring after you read every UFO book and every documentary and that, because it never actually gets to. But the thing is that it has to a certain extent, because Dave Grush came out and he said there's bodies and there's vehicle. Obviously, we don't have the evidence, but I mean, he said it. It's even been in Congress. Lue Elizondo, in his book, he says yes, there is bodies, there is vehicles. So it actually has. But I hear you. There's no actual evidence, but I mean, that's like in a court of law. If someone was murdered and that person came, like they had someone that came and said, yes, I know that person was murdered, they would fly in a court of law, So, I mean, is it good enough to? I mean, is that enough? I mean, I hear you, but I still feel that it's actually they've said enough, to say. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, look, there's a lot of information. There is a lot of information, and a lot of informants that have come through to say what they have. Bob Lazar, I mean, he was one of the founding fathers, if you want to call it, of all the stuff that's going on currently. What he said that he saw, and this whole element 119, I think it was, which they've now said there is an element 119. So all the stuff that he's actually said and people were shooting him down for is coming true. So if you look at Bob Lazar's stuff and the things that the scientists have come through and they said, yes, okay, this is what we have. He did work for us, blah, 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 blah. You now know, okay, they tried to discredit him, didn't work. What he said is true. And I think if you listen to Lue, I can't remember which podcast he was. It might have been with Joe previous to this one, where he actually mentions Bob Lazar. And that Bob Lazar was one of his people that he looked up to, and those kind of things. So, but again, as much as I do believe I do believe that it's there, and I do believe that these things are real. I would love to just see the evidence. That's all. I just want to see the physical things that people have said that they've got and they've seen. I just want to see, that's all. Just show me that, and we can put everything to bed. That's my only issue.
Yeah, sure. It's almost like, I mean, yeah, them people in the Pentagon saying that this is real isn't enough. It's like you need like the president of the United States to come and say, you know what I mean? It's like, what more do we need? Obviously, yeah, pictures and maybe video or pictures or something, and maybe someone where that needs to be high up. That's not someone that worked in the Pentagon, like the president of the United States saying it. I mean, that's the only way people.
But I suppose even with that, I mean, even if you had to have pictures that would come through, and the guys would be saying, okay, this is what we have. Have a look here. This is Hangar 16. This is the aircraft that we'd be trying to work on. You would always have people commenting on that and saying, oh, it's a deep fake, it's AI. You know what I mean? There would always be some sort of blowback, even if the evidence was shooting you straight in the face. There would always be a blowback to say, look, it's not. There's always somebody that's going to say it's a lot of cuck.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, it's disclosures happened like 100%. I mean, Congress has taken it seriously. They've put all of those laws in place to show that they've taken it seriously. Like, this is a real thing. Lue Elizondo's book, Dave Grosh coming out, it's like, but actually no one really gives a fuck at the end of the day. I mean, everyone, they said that, disclosure would like make the stock market crash and the fucking, us all going to panic, but we're so worried about like trying to make money and surviving and fucking like hating each other, like, sending horrible messages on Twitter and Facebook and that, it's exciting when you hear that thing for one day and then no one gives a fuck.
I think the media currently, because we were running quite well with the whole UFO thing over the last couple of years. It's been running and gathering momentum. But the only thing now it's been shut down is because you've got the two, Kamala Harris and old Donald Trump, that are running for president. So all the stuff that's surrounding them and what's going on with them has kind of taken front seat. So it's almost like it's been a distraction. It's something to throw in your faces and forget about what's kind of going on the side there. You know what I mean? So that's kind of dominating the headlines currently. So yeah, let's see.
With Lex Friedman, what's this? This is Lex Friedman. Anyway, did you listen to old Donald Trump on Lex Friedman's podcast?
When I asked him about the UFO thing.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Yeah, no, I'll disclose that."
He said he spoke to a lot of. Look, he said personally that he doesn't believe the stuff, but the people that he's spoken to, like the Air Force fighter pilots, they've all seen things. They've spoken to him and they've seen things. He said, look, as much as he doesn't believe, he believes that these guys, what they saw, they think they believe they saw. So, I did hear a little bit about
He
that.
also said he knows what's happened at Area 51. Remember that one with his son? His son interviewed him and he was like, "Nah, it's very interesting about Area 51, but I don't know. I'm not gonna. I might release it. I might not." You remember the interview?
I don't recall that. No.
Hey, check it out. Anyway, so that's Lue Elizondo's book.
All right. So, what do you rate that out of a 10? What's the rating out of 10? What would you give that? Imminent.
Well, I mean, I think it's an extremely important book. It's probably one of the most important UFO books probably ever written. But because I've known the story, it was boring for me,
Okay.
But I mean, for a new person, it's like kind of just starting to dabble in UFOs. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10, absolutely, no brainer,
Okay.
But for people like you and me, I'll give it like maybe a 7.
Well, 7's still high. I mean, seven would be giving you information that you didn't know already. So there must be a lot of info there that you
confirming it. It's just really confirming it, but also his story so interesting. Like what really happened in the Pentagon? Why things happen in certain ways? The whole Leslie Kean and Rolf Blumenhoff thing with that was so interesting. When he went to go to meet Leslie Kean and Rolf Blumenhoff to do the 2017 New York Times article. He got there and there was these military guys that he knew were military guys and they were following them around. And then eventually they went into this hotel and they hid around the corner and Leslie took out her camera and like as these guys came around the corner, they just stood there looking at them, and they snapped a picture. And then the guys like looked at them like they had like a little bit of a standoff, and then they left. They like
Okay.
thought, "Oh fuck, we bust." So there was like an intimidation there from these military guys, which was it was fascinating, you know. So there's like little nuances that are very interesting. That's we kind of miss, because when he tells a story, and that's he doesn't get into the nitty gritty details. So those things are very interesting, like how certain things happen, and also his whole role at TTSA, and how that thing, how it disintegrated, and stuff like that. It's quite interesting, and also what happened to him with the backlash, and like when they're trying to discredit him, and his whole what he went through when he wanted to come out to the public and just give them this information, and having to talk to his family and say like, fuck, like I need to tell the world this. But and his wife's like, are you stupid? Like if you leave now, you're only going to get your pension at age 62, even if you're lucky, and you're getting a great salary every month. Like, this is ridiculous. And then it's a whole like the adjustments he had to make in his life, leaving that salary.
You see, those are the kind of things that kind of lead me credence towards believing what he's saying, because he could have just kept quiet and kept raking in the bucks. I'm assuming he was earning quite good salary. He could afford nice houses, nice cars, and for somebody to put that on the line for no benefit, okay? Because the only thing that that's going to come from that is going to be massive backlash about people thinking you're a nut. So that's always those type of things have always put me to believe the story, because it's yes, he worked his way through it, and he managed to look. He's probably doing okay now. From all the books and everything else that's going on there. But he would not be able to foresee that would have been the case when it was happening. I mean, when he lost everything, and when people go through that, it's terrible. It's terrible when you go through not working now. What are you going to do? How are you going to make ends meet? So you go through a very tough stage. And I mean, I've been through it. You've been through it. It's not cool. And I take my hat off to those people, because it's only because of that. And because of that specific reason is the reason why I believe what they say.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like the Snowden, or the Julia Assange, the WikiLeaks guy. He's like kind of that of the UFO world,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I take my hat off to him. I really think it's amazing, and I'm totally on his side. I mean, so if it's a psyop or not, it's fucking amazing what he did. I mean, it's bringing the
Well, look,
so
whether or not it's a psyop, we don't know, because we know that Project Bluebeam is supposed to be already begun. This whole Project Blue Book thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Bluebeam, not Blue Book, sorry. So we know that there's supposed to be some sort of invasion, alien invasion. We don't know whether it's next year or whenever, but I think it's soon. Everything kind of is steering in that direction, that everything is ramping up. Everything is happening quite quickly. So let's see. Yeah.
Okay, so stone tape theory.
All right, so stone tape theory.
What's going on there? I mean,
All
I know
right,
what
so,
stone tape is, but what's
all
the
right, so
story?
the theory about stone tape theory is that every object or every building or rock or whatever you call it has some sort of soul that captures activities, energies that happen in and around it. And it almost becomes like a recorder. And there's certain people, if you are sensitive enough, you'll be able to pick these things up. And even not. So, I mean, sometimes you go to a house and people say it's haunted, and you start feeling all these weird and seeing these things and poltergeist activity and all that kind of stuff. So the stone tape theory is basically that. It's stone that has absorbed the energies of things that have happened in the past, and it's kind of replaying it. So that as far as I know what stone tape theory is, which kind of actually leads into something else called psychometry. Because stone tape theory and psychometry are very similar. Now, psychometry was coined in 1842 by a guy by the name of, I think his name was Joseph Buchanan. He actually coined that phrase, psychometry, which basically means, it's from the Greek, soul and measurement. So psyche was the soul, and metron is the measurement. So it's soul measurement, basically. Now, what he reckons is that everything has soul and that everything is able to record. So you could pick up an object. Say, I've got this pyramid, okay? And it's been with me, say, I don't know, a few weeks, whatever. And if somebody picks it up and this thing lands up maybe in the antique shop, somebody picks it up and they say, hey, the owner of this, because they start getting impressions, they start getting things that come through to their mind and say, hey, the owner of this was a white guy, had a beard, and you know they can kind of almost give you the story of the previous owners. And I think that's the same with buildings. But his theory about having a soul, everything has a soul, I disagree with that. I think everything is energy and everything has an aura, if you could call it that. And everything that has an aura is able to absorb things that happen in and around it. So even the glasses that I'm wearing has its aura, but it'll able to absorb activities and things that happen around and continue. So it's almost like recording always. But there's certain things that will happen that will take over that frequency. So somebody gets murdered in the house, or somebody, you know what I mean? It's a very high frequency, a very high emotion that's taken place. And I think that might come to the forefront, and that might be what's replaying at a house or in an object that people are able to see. So that's my understanding. That's my understanding of stone tape theory and psychometry, which kind of leads into the same thing.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, like with psychometry, you can actually do this experiment with the, friends or whatever. You take objects and you wrap it in paper, and you so they don't know what the object is. And then you can bring it to your friend's house, whatever, and then you share the objects and you hold it and you try and see what you pick up. And it's I remember this one psychometry party or whatever, that was this one person brought a lock, a combination lock, and the person held it and actually was I don't know what it is, but I'm getting this number. It's 27-18-5, and then they were like, what? That's the code for the lock. But I mean, when I got the watch, you don't know what it is. It's I'd be like, this person is a male. I seen green grass, pictures, paintings, whatever, and then the person opened it up and it was this watch. I didn't get anything of the watch, but they said, they were like, yeah, but it belongs to this guy. He's an artist, and there's when you come out his front door, there's all this grass, all this lawn going down, and I picked up all of those.
So you actually did this? You did that? So were you at this thing?
Yeah. So I had the piece of paper and there was a watch in it.
Okay, so hold on.
I don't know,
where was this? Where did you do this?
It was just at a friend's house here in Cape Town. I mean, it was just a just get together, and we only did that for half an hour, and then the rest of the time we just ate.
Okay, but was it a planned event? So he said to you, okay, cool, look, we're having a psychometry weekend or psychometry evening.
Yeah, bring 3 things.
And wrap it in paper. What paper were you wrapping it in?
Just computer paper.
Just normal, even newspaper or something. No, I suppose you can't do newspaper.
Just white.
Okay.
White printing paper.
But now, okay, so my question then is, if you are wrapping it in paper, would the paper not have picked up some sort of energy or aura from you before you take it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. That's
because you might be then getting, you might be picking up.
We were supposed to be telling what the object was.
Yeah.
But then everyone was getting impressions of other things. So it's a commentary thinking, yeah.
So now, how of the people that were there, how many got it right?
Well, I mean, I only remember the one of the other interesting one was that there was a plane ticket in a piece of paper, and the person held it, and they were like, they said they saw clouds and sky and then they opened it up and it was this plane ticket.
Oh shit!
Quite interesting.
Yeah, that's these people that were opening these things, did they have any sort of background in psychometry, or was it just
no,
dudes that just came off the
yeah, just people
friends?
kind of, yeah, with just friends and stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting. Because
And then also,
there was this, yeah.
oh yeah, say what you gonna say?
No, I was saying there was a study done with the psychometry by this Buchanan guy. And this is how he got into this whole thing. He got different drugs in vials and he put them in. His students came and they had to identify. So they pick it up and that they were trying to identify it just by the impressions they were getting. And he reckons that it was above chance. It was above chance about what these drugs that the guys have got. And he found that was incredible because these guys had no information about what these drugs were. So
Yeah,
I think
sure,
there's definitely something to that, man.
yeah, and also like a lot of the time with the police departments when they use psychics to solve cases, like a lot of the time the psychics actually need something from the murder scene or whatever, like this person's shirt or or something to hold to get impressions. So like that's even. I mean, I wish I could actually tell one of the stories, but I can't remember one of them. But also with the stone tape theory, there's a guy here in Cape Town, Dean Leprini, that he's a dowser. He's also got these wonderful tours like around Cape Town here that you go and he shows you sacred sites in Cape Town, like on the mountains and that where all the energies meet and like where at certain like times in the year, like equinoxes and that there'll be like special holes in certain rocks where the sun comes through and he gives a whole lesson of what the natives in that time used that site for, and very, very interesting stuff. I love going on the tours and that, and I've done a few of his dowsing courses. And he tells me that sometimes he gets called because there's like a weird something happening in a house, like a bad energy, bad luck's happening there, or whatever, or like there's maybe a bit of poltergeist
Activity, yeah.
activity. And then he goes there and he does his dowsing thing to find out what's going on. And he says a lot of the time it's actually trapped in the walls, and he has to physically go there and start banging on the walls to get the vibration out of the walls. And that's how he does it.
Okay. I didn't know you could actually get rid of the energy. I thought the energy was going to be sitting in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he uses like a bit of intention and some other stuff, but I mean, he just told me like banging on the walls and that.
Okay. So maybe the vibration shakes it loose.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm assuming because when you're knocking, it causes vibration, and vibration, I'm assuming would then shake the negative energy loose.
yeah, as
Okay.
crazy as it sounds. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's actually pretty interesting.
Do you have some stories about some of those things?
What, the psychometry then?
Or the stone tape theory?
No. The only look, there's a book. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Michael Talbot. He did the holographic universe. He said that nothing's ever lost. It's always accessible to people that are sensitive enough to pick it up. And I think you've heard of the crystal skulls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's certain rock or stone that can hold a lot of information. I think crystals, quartz crystals and those kind of things is quite permeable in that it will absorb that. And I think this is why, I mean, if you look at our computers today, there's crystal, we use crystals because it holds information. You know what I mean? In the chips and stuff that we use, there's a lot of crystal things. So I think there's a case to be said for the crystal skulls, and maybe there's information that's in these skulls that we are unable to access at this time. But I think maybe going down the line, we'll be able to access all this kind of information. Probably back from the days of Atlantis when the guys were using crystals, and I think when everything went haywire, all the technology that they had, we were able to use. So I think, yes, I think transferring information to rock, to crystal, to whatever it is for records, specifically crystal for records, I think it's possible. And I do think that everything has an energy field. So I do think everything would then absorb everything that's happening around you. It would be absorbed always.
Have you heard that story about the monk that I think they were interviewing someone, a monk about because they want to know if artificial intelligence can actually hold a soul or like become fully conscious. And then the monk was like, "Yeah, well, you can actually even put consciousness into a rock. Like you can actually, like almost like I don't know if it's like I mean, not like a tulpa, because tulpa probably doesn't have any consciousness, it's just the energy thought form. But like the Buddhist monk was saying, you can actually transfer a consciousness into a rock, like your consciousness. Well, I kind of sort of believe that with like astral travel and stuff like that. But then they were like, well, how do you do that? And then the monk was like, are you crazy? We're not going to like, we're not going to teach you how to do that. Like, because, obviously,
But
but
now,
that's quite interesting because maybe they can transfer
well, possibly,
consciousness.
but then what would the benefit of that be? So if you've transferred consciousness into a rock, as an example,
Yeah.
how would it come out? So if you're now sitting in this rock, you've got this consciousness, how are you going to leave the rock?
Well, yeah, I know that's, I think he just used that for an example. Because, yeah, fuck, imagine you get stuck in a rock forever. I mean, that's probably even worse than, but, so what was interesting, I was listening to this one thing with Sadhguru, and he was saying he got really sick this one time, and he was sick for like months, and he that no one could understand what was going on with him. All the doctors he went to, no one could fix him, and he just had this like feeling he had to go to this one place, like I don't know, there was a special rock. I think it was in America, but he had to go to this rock for some reason, and he went to this rock, and he went up and he sat there, and he started getting all of this downloads of like so much information and this healing, and he came back down and he was like a new person. He was totally healed, and he even his voice changed, and he said that when he was up there, all this information that he got downloaded was that the the this the shamans or the monks in that area, from thousands of years ago, they put all of that information into this like energy field around that rock, or like close to that rock. It was almost like all this data, they somehow stored it there, so that if something happened or whatever, and somebody knew that how to activate it or go there to get the download of that data, they could do that. So it's almost like, like that seed bank in freaking the Antarctica, that they've put all those seed genetic like seeds or whatever. There's a catastrophe that happens, they can regenerate the earth or whatever. Or like where Google storage data is, but they like the monks have like put that data, like I don't know, almost like a tulpa or whatever, like a thought form, into that energetic field around that mountain or that rock, that you can actually go and get the download if you know how to
How
do
to
it. I don't
access it?
know.
Yeah.
But
But
so that's,
but that would lead on with the stone tape theory.
yeah.
So were you able to do that? So I think you probably have sacred sites around the world, for example, Stonehenge, perhaps the pyramids, I don't know, but you've got there's always these stone circle things, like Stonehenge. There's a stone circle, I think, in France as well. They've got those obelisks that run like 4 kilometers. So you'll probably find that these guys back in the day were able to transfer everything to the rocks as this is their recording devices. So I don't know. This is now leading me to think maybe, back we think everybody was dumb, but they were transferring certain images or certain things that were happening. And there were people from other tribes around the world that were coming to these certain areas, and they could download this information and take it back to where I don't know. It's just weird shit that goes on in
Because
my mind.
there's also like another theory around that, is that they could actually send a signal from those sites to the other sites. So like if you wanted to speak to your tribe that was on the other end of the world, you could send it from there, because it was like a place where the information could be downloaded and sent.
Okay.
So it's like almost like a telephone portal back in the, and that also goes into the whole Yuga cycles, because like obviously we're in the Kali Yuga now, the dark ages, where like the technology is not in line with the earth or like us, because I mean, geez, if we could just wipe out the whole planet without atomic bombs and stuff. So it's because we're in a bad state of consciousness. But when when we're in the cycle of the golden age, that's when, because our consciousness is so pure and clean and everything, that all of the technology will be in line of the earth, it won't be harmful, and that's probably the technology. You know, like that you can send those signals through those stone rocks. I mean, obviously, how did they build the pyramids? Like it was, you know, during that golden age where the technology was probably
I'm
used.
thinking through, like as you're mentioning, through the ages. There's probably the golden age where you wouldn't need any technology. You wouldn't need rocks. You wouldn't need anything to telephones, mobiles, nothing. You could actually just transfer it from thought, like telepathy. You'd be able to transfer thought to one another. But then obviously over the period of time that got lost, and then they would need to use some sort of object to transfer. You know what I mean? And then as time went on, the technology became worse, and then you can't use rock anymore. Now we're trying to figure out other shit to try and work out.
Now
So
we've got a cell phone and 5G that fries our brains and gives us cancer and stuff, but we can have
but we can talk to those from the other side of the world.
just like bitch and moan about each other.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. So that's, I mean, no one knows what these sacred sites are around the world. No one knows. I mean, there's thoughts about it. That's because of the solstices and the sun and the stars, which possible, but we don't really know. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Stone tape theory.
But also, if your Rosicrucian, you must read more of your Rosicrucian monographs, because there's actually a whole section in there. Like I've just actually gone through it now of like that kind of stuff. Tory kind of like how it works, and it gives a bit of like the mystical background, kind of mystical science of how it works. Very interesting. Yeah,
100%, man. All right, well, yeah, looks like we've come to the end of our show for tonight. So thanks, Wolf, for that, and yeah, thanks everybody again for our 50th show, and we'll cut it off there for tonight, and we'll see you guys. We'll chat next week.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, we'll chat to you next week, buddy.
Lee. Thanks,
Cheers, buddy.
buddy.
Cool.
Event.